Yeah, of course. Thanks, Matthew, and hi, everyone. It's really interesting actually going last because I can see that both of you have used it quite differently to how I've done it. So I'm sure there are many other possibilities as well, but it's interesting that we've all taken a slightly different approach. In terms of my use of Elevate, I've used it for a couple of years now with two very large online modules that I run for the University of Exeter. And what's been really helpful about it is because these modules are online, it's really, well, the students say to me that something about it being online makes it harder to speak out than if it's in person. And I'm not quite sure why it should be different, but the modules are about the future of work. And so I'm saying to them, both a large undergraduate group and a large master's group, that you're going to have to get used to communicating through platforms like Teams or Zoom and using different digital tools in order to work with colleagues, get your points across, just do your day-to-day jobs. And university is a safe place to practice that. And that works with some people, but I still find, and it's interesting that you two have both said similar, that a lot of students are very reluctant to put their thoughts down in written form, particularly if it's got their real name attached. And it's kind of interesting what in so many, even what I would think of as really kind of confident, professionally prepared students still seem to struggle with this. And what tends to happen is by the end of the modules, they say to me, oh, I wish I'd contributed more earlier, because now we're at the end, I really see the benefits of it. And so it's sort of trying to get that embedded early enough that they get the benefits during the modules rather than after. But what I've done basically is I ask them to make one comment per week and one reply to somebody else's comment on a range of different activities. And they're not assessed directly on those comments, but they write a reflection at the end of the module, talking about what they've learned as a result of doing that. And that's where I usually see all the comments about, oh, I was really worried about this to start with, but by the end I realized how useful it was. And so as a tutor, my position now is, well, how can I get them to that point before the end of the module rather than when it's really too late to do anything about it. So I think the particular benefits that I've had with using Elevate over other types of contribution, I use things like Padlets and that as well, but I think with Elevate, the ability to insert a comment directly within a text or a video at the point that it's relevant is really helpful, and gives it an edge over other more general types of contribution. So I find that really helpful. I also try to use resources like short videos that are fairly contentious. So they're things where students might reasonably have different views or perhaps quite strong views, to sort of encourage a debate. Because I think that sort of helps to get things started if it's something that students can relate to and see that others also have either similar or very different views and can contest those. But yeah, so I found it very useful. Looking at the modules as a whole, I think it tends to be the better students that do it. And when I say better students, I mean the more confident students. And if they're given a choice between something basic like contributing to a Padlet and something that's perhaps a little bit more engaging like Elevate, it tends to be the stronger students that take the perhaps more difficult option. I think it's fair to say. But how we can get over the initial kind of fear that people have about doing this is something I'd really be interested in discussing with you all, because it doesn't seem to have changed that much. I've been doing this for sort of 10 or 12 years now, and it's not a new thing anymore. And yet I don't think I've noticed any great change in terms of how willing students are to put their thoughts down. Whereas I would have expected perhaps more of a, a rising line on a graph over that period of time. But yeah, that's kind of a potted summary of where I am. And I look forward to any questions or comments from fellow speakers or from the group.